Is Mike Tomlin overachieving or is he underachieving in the playoffs?
Yeah, I seen signs of growth for sure. From past, the first year I've been here, just way more growth for sure.
Does that make you optimistic going forward?
Nah.
I want to be a Pittsburgh Steelers. You guys know that.
The Pittsburgh Steelers are in a very precarious position. Once again, after a familiar result to their season, fans are pointing the blame finger at Mike Tomlin. Is it truly his fault? What is the alternative for the Pittsburgh Steelers? And could the issues be lying elsewhere? Before we get to the content, I am going to be thanking you guys once again for helping me hit 1 million subscribers. I'm going to be doing this in the next couple of videos because on my other channel, when I hit 1 million subscribers, I only thanked everyone in one video, and a lot of subscribers missed the thank you and they thought I wasn't grateful for all of your support. So whether you're someone that's working on this video or someone that's consuming my content, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for helping us hit 1 million subscribers. And now that we get all that out of the way, work! Today's video is sponsored by one of the most important sponsorships I've ever had, Aura. Have you ever Googled yourself, a family member, or a loved one and been shocked by how much personal information was publicly available? Maybe it was an old address, phone number, or your net worth. What surprised you the most, and how did it make you feel knowing that anyone could see and find it? Which is why I believe Aura is so important. Aura will help remove your personal information from data brokers and people's search site that can sell your info to identity thieves, scammers, and more. They monitor your personal data, including your social security number, across billions of data points like the dark web and public court records to alert you about potential identity theft. And in this particular scenario, their financial fraud protection is so important because you get alerted within minutes when your credit file has been compromised. Like if someone tries to open credit cards and loans in your name, you can instantly lock your Experian file with a tap for fast security. Now, this service is clearly priceless, but I'm not leaving myself and my family vulnerable to data breaches and brokers. And if you don't want to either, then you can go to aura.com/microphone to get a 14-day free trial. That's aura.com/microphone in order to get a 14-day free trial and see if any of your data has been exposed. And thank you, Aura, for the sponsor. Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? Everybody knew going into this season the Pittsburgh Steelers were in a very funky situation, primarily because they tried to come up with a quick fix at the quarterback position. And at first, they actually looked like geniuses. In the beginning of the season, Justin Fields took the starting QB position and it didn't seem like he was going to give it back. Justin Fields had 1,338 total yards, 10 total TDs, 1 interception, a 4-2 record tied for first in the AFC North. Honestly, Mike Tomlin looked like a genius, and there were things that Justin Fields was able to do as an athletic 26-year-old QB that Russell Wilson simply couldn't do. Plays such as this one where he'd be able to scramble for an easy first down. Justin Fields seemed to have really grown as a QB as well, throwing this dime on the run. And there were just some plays that made it seem like Justin Fields was going to be the future for the Pittsburgh Steelers at the quarterback position, although he did limit the Pittsburgh Steelers in some ways as well. You could tell that George Pickens wasn't necessarily happy with Justin Fields as the quarterback. There was a game against the Cowboys where George Pickens didn't even seem to give much effort against one of the NFL's worst defenses. Justin Fields would miss him whenever he was open. George Pickens ran a career low 20 routes, and in just multiple instances didn't seem to be running his hardest and didn't even seem to be trying. And I guess this is because he had no faith in Justin Fields being able to find him, but a lot of fans mentioned that George Pickens just didn't have the greatest attitude. Towards the end of that game, he had a display of poor sportsmanship as well, throwing Jordan Lewis, and after the game, George Pickens was unavailable for interviews. Now, there's no question about it that Justin Fields took away a dimension of the offense from the Pittsburgh Steelers, but like as the old saying goes, if it ain't broke, then why fix it? And then Mike Tomlin made one of the most shocking decisions of the season, putting in Russell Wilson despite the Pittsburgh Steelers having a good season with Justin Fields. Justin Fields handled it like a pro.
I mean, I don't think I played, good enough. If I'm being real with you. If I'm I'm being rude myself. I think if I did play well enough, I don't think there would be any sort of playing.
And it just made a lot of sense because if you took a look at the eye test, Justin Fields and George Pickens just never were able to find chemistry with one another. So I'm assuming this decision was made to open up the passing game. Some fans were even speculating that this decision was made so the Steelers didn't have to give up a 4th round pick to the Chicago Bears. After Russell Wilson's first game, there were some pros to the fact that he was under center. Russell Wilson makes the play action a factor significantly more than Justin Fields does. Justin Fields had a 77.8 QBR in the play action, and at least in Russell Wilson's first game, Mike Tomlin looked like a genius, as Russell Wilson was able to open up the game for George Pickens, which also opened up the run for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and honestly, it looked like this year could have been the Steelers' year. And just looking back at it, just seeing Mike Tomlin give this post-game interview following that game is comedy.
That's why I'm well compensated. Thank you.
But the thing is, in typical Steelers fashion, the Steelers would absolutely crumble to finish out the season. After starting the season 10-3, they would finish the season 10-7, losing to the Philadelphia Eagles, Baltimore Ravens, Kansas City Chiefs, and Cincinnati Bengals. This gave off the impression that the Steelers were pretenders because they were struggling against the better teams in the NFL during the worst time to struggle against the better teams in the NFL. Bear in mind that this team already had victories over the Baltimore Ravens and the Cleveland Browns and the Los Angeles Chargers. So the timing of this was just terrible, and fans didn't really know who to blame. On one hand, Russell Wilson did display the ability to turn back the clock periodically, but there are moments where he just simply wasn't able to deliver, whether it was against the Kansas City Chiefs on Christmas Day. But maybe you could blame that on the fact that maybe the schedule wasn't great for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Playing against the Baltimore Ravens on December 21st only to play against the Chiefs 4 days later is certainly not ideal. And then against the Cincinnati Bengals, one of the worst defenses in the NFL, Russell Wilson had less than 150 passing yards and 1 touchdown, lost to the Bengals 17-19. The season would end for the Pittsburgh Steelers against the Baltimore Ravens, and it just seemed like this team gave no effort underneath Mike Tomlin. I mean, they got absolutely cooked by Derrick Henry, including this stiff arm on his former Alabama teammate Minkah Fitzpatrick, and would get steamrolled by the Ravens en route to another loss. Following the game, the press conferences were a little mixed. I mean, look at what George Pickens had to say about this team's offense.
Yeah, I seen signs of growth for sure. From past, the first year I've been here, just way more growth for sure.
George, does that make you optimistic going forward?
Nah.
The best player on the Pittsburgh Steelers seemed to be a little bit more optimistic and declared his loyalty to the team.
I want to be a Pittsburgh Steeler. You guys know that. I don't want to leave this place, especially in this. I want to be part of the solution. I've put so much into it here. I've seen so many guys. I mean, I want to help Cam Hayward get to where we need to get. I want to be a part of the solution. I don't want to leave this place. I love the people here. And that goes beyond just the coaches. It's the fan base, it's the people, the community, and we owe it to them to get it right. And I want to be part of the solution, not leave here and go somewhere else. That's not my intention at all.
And of course, fans were calling for the Steelers to fire Mike Tomlin. And the situation involving Mike Tomlin is so difficult. Because on one hand, if you take a look at the Tomlin era, ever since they lost to the Green Bay Packers in the Super Bowl, in 2011, they lost to Tim Tebow in the wild card. In 2012 and 13, they missed the playoffs. In 2014, they lost to the Ravens in the wild card. In 2015, they lost to the Broncos in the divisional. In 2016, which was the last time they made it to the AFC Championship and won a playoff game, they got cooked by the Patriots. In 2017, they got cooked by the Jaguars. In 2018 and 19, they missed the playoffs. In 2020, they got embarrassed by Baker Mayfield and the Cleveland Browns. In 2021, they got destroyed by the Chiefs. In 2022, they missed the playoffs. In 2023, they lost to the Bills in the wild card. And in 2024, they got cooked by the Ravens. Throughout all this, the one thing that has been keeping Mike Tomlin's job secure is the fact that he has never had a losing record. And I agree with Jeff Schwartz's take here, who says that the Steelers are in the worst spot in sports. They're good enough to make the postseason, but not enough to ever win. So you just stay status quo every year because it works. Not bad enough to draft a stud QB, not good enough to win with a veteran castoff, etc. But I think the take I agree with the most here is what Ryan Clark has to say about the situation.
If they were in a relationship, the Pittsburgh Steelers and Mike Tomlin, they'd be the main main topic of every girl's trip. Be the one lady saying, I have this man and he does everything so well, but I don't feel like it's bliss. And all of the homegirls who are married and have some sense would be like, girl, you better not leave him. Single homegirl who ain't never had a stable relationship, hell no, girl, you can have all. Is Mike Tomlin overachieving or is he underachieving in the playoffs? Is this team that always seems prepared in big games during the season, fell behind by at least 14 in the last 5 playoffs, not prepared? Are they not ready? Are they not maintaining the message from the meeting room? And if you feel like that, you have to have the conversation, can we have a higher ceiling? We could also end up being the Jacksonville Jaguars. That's a tough decision you have to make when Lombardi trophies are the most important thing in your life.
Ryan Clark is right in the sense that there are teams that would love to have Mike Tomlin as their head coach, even though the Steelers have disappointed in the playoffs recently. It's like, on one hand, if you do fire Mike Tomlin, then you're going to be tasked with the responsibility to find a head coach that is better than Mike Tomlin. And we all know that finding a brand new head coach is one gigantic game of roulette. A lot of luck is involved in finding the right head coach to lead your team. So would firing Mike Tomlin and bring in Joe Brady or Ben Johnson or Doug Peterson be better than just staying with Mike Tomlin? At the same time, some of the statistics surrounding Mike Tomlin are just hilarious. Since Mike Tomlin's last playoff win, Dan Quinn took the Falcons to the Super Bowl. Dan Quinn was fired by the Falcons. Dan Quinn spent 3 years as the Cowboys defensive coordinator. Dan Quinn got hired by the Commanders. Dan Quinn took the Commanders to the playoffs and won a playoff game. Or how about this one? Since Mike Tomlin's last playoff win, Doug Peterson was hired. Doug Peterson won a Super Bowl. Doug Peterson was fired. Doug Peterson was hired. Doug Peterson won a playoff game. Doug Peterson was fired. Probably my favorite one here, since Mike Tomlin's last playoff win, the Houston Texans have completed 2 rebuilds, 4-12 in 2017, 2 division titles, won a playoff game, 4-12 in 2020, 4-13 in 2021, traded Deshaun Watson, 3-13-1 in 2022, drafted CJ Stroud and Will Anderson, 2 division titles, 2 playoff wins. And on one hand, I know it's really easy to point the blame finger at Mike Tomlin, and if you're a Steelers fan, you might be very frustrated by Mike Tomlin, but at the same time, I think it's important to mention the Steelers haven't had a franchise QB in quite some time, and prior to that, they had a washed version of Ben Roethlisberger. Big Ben in his twilight years clearly wasn't ideal as a quarterback, and then you had Kenny Pickett, and now you're trying to find your answer under center, and I think that might be the bigger issue that the Steelers have. I know it's easy to point the blame finger at the head coach, but to say that the Steelers are not in a situation to draft a stud QB is just lazy. Take a look at the 2017 NFL draft, for instance. In 2016, the Kansas City Chiefs went 12-4 with Alex Smith under center, but they still traded up to the 10th overall pick with the Buffalo Bills and selected Patrick Mahomes. Or how about in 2018, the Baltimore Ravens were able to select Lamar Jackson with the final pick in the first round of the NFL draft. I mean, you could go back to 2016, the Dallas Cowboys selected Dak Prescott in the 4th round of the NFL draft. So to say that the Steelers are being sabotaged by Tomlin, having regular season success, and never being able to draft a quarterback is really just lazy, because typically the top picks of the NFL draft where quarterbacks sometimes don't pan out, and just look at the 2021 NFL draft if you need further evidence of that. It's very difficult to know whether or not the blame finger should be pointed at Tomlin, but at the same time, if you look at his track record, it's not really promising. Being regular season champions and then losing immediately in the playoffs is certainly discouraging. It's almost as if the Steelers are the Dallas Cowboys of the AFC. And the worst part of all is the answers aren't really linear. What do the Steelers do in the offseason to improve? It's not really a good quarterback class. Do they sign Aaron Rodgers and have Aaron Rodgers compete with Russell Wilson and Justin Fields? If they do that, shouldn't we just expect a repeat of the previous season? And it seems like the quarterback situation for the Steelers may be another huge issue that they need to address. According to Mark Kaboli, reports surfaced during the year that offensive coordinator Arthur Smith preferred Justin Fields over Russell Wilson, but that was never substantiated. Still, despite Russell Wilson and Arthur Smith spending countless hours together after the typical workday watching film and publicly joking about it, a team source recently said that Wilson and Smith did not have a very good working relationship, but they fought through their differences as best as they could. And there is a myriad of different directions that the Steelers could go in regards to their future at the quarterback position. They can extend Justin Fields, they could bring back Russell Wilson. I don't expect Russell Wilson to be commanding a significant sum of money. They could trade for Aaron Rodgers, and by the way, Davante Adams says that he would love to play for Mike Tomlin.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh could have used you this past weekend.
Yeah,
you like Tomlin? You'd play for Tomlin?
Oh, 100%. I love Mike. I think anytime you have a coach that's a player's coach and you can tell that they got a way with their guys, you know, those type of coaches, whether they coach me or not, they always win me over. So I've had nothing but respect for him, and it's been mutual. He talked to me during some games. I remember last year in 2023, they came to our place in Vegas and we played them, and I think Joey Porter had made a play on the sideline or something on me, and he got up barking and screaming and hollering like in my face a little bit, and I just kind of looked at him like, and then I looked over at Mike Tomlin, and he comes running, flying over to me. He's like, "Hey man, he's young. Just let him live." So just having somebody like that that's like, look, I know my guy made a play, and I know he was kind of a little out of line, but you know, just to be personable enough to joke with me in that moment about that. You know, that says a lot about him too. So obviously a great coach, but he's a hell of a dude too.
There's so many directions that the Steelers could go in. I mean, they could trade Mike Tomlin. I could see the Dallas Cowboys trading for Mike Tomlin. It's just there's so many directions that the Steelers can go in, and there's not really a clear answer. So if you're a Steelers fan, let me know in the comment section down below, how would you fix the Pittsburgh Steelers? Should Mike Tomlin be fired? I'd like to hear what you have to say. Aside from that, I'm your boy Mike, and I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.